Hi, everyone. Welcome to your creative journey. My name is Kevin.
I'm still Paul Carganilla.
Welcome to the show that is designed to help you get your creative work done. Whether you're a singer, writer, actor, dancer, performer, a whole bunch of other stuff, axe thrower, Paul, maybe.
People do that professionally. They actually teach it as well. I was talking to one of the officers that I work with today. He's an. I didn't know this before I went axe throwing this past weekend, but he's an actual axe throwing coach.
An axe coach.
And he has like his own throwing gallery.
Yeah.
That's mobile. He takes it to his students' homes, sets it up, and they do the thing.
I think that's so awesome.
You could also be a bereavement coordinator, color expert, online dating ghostwriter, bingo manager, or hippotherapist. Not hypnotherapist, but hippotherapist.
What's the description that was behind that one? Is it like that, like hippos in captivity get upset, or any description there?
Here's the thing. It has nothing to do with hippopotamuses at all.
It doesn't. What does it have to do with?
The description is a hippotherapist is a job that combines therapy with riding horses. It is a type of therapy used for both children and adults. Yeah. The career requires you to be a certified therapist with knowledge of different forms of disabilities, and you should also be good with horses.
Guess what? Duncan has actually done hippotherapy, right? Wow. Yeah, he used to do that out at Curacao Ranch. So that's funny because it is, right? Hippo and horses, they're all like part of that same sort of class.
They are?
Yeah, I believe so. I say that cockily, and it's probably wrong. So there you go.
What was that word? How did you say it?
I'm not going to repeat it. Welcome to our show. Welcome to your creative journey. And we're here on a really awesome night. It's 50 episodes, Paul.
It's our silver episode.
Yeah. Right. What do you get each other for a 50th episode anniversary?
Oh, it's gold, right? Isn't it gold?
I guess so. Yeah, it is. It is a gold anniversary. My gosh. Can we say hi to all the folks that showed up here tonight? I'm always so happy and grateful that you're here. Meryl, Kelsey, Emily's here.
From Disneyland. Emily's joining us from inside Disneyland right now.
That's amazing, right? That's how committed our audience is, man.
Yeah.
So happy to do it.
Standing in
Paul,
line somewhere, and we're entertaining her, or she's just dropping in to say hi.
We're glad to have you here, Emily. Hey, if there's questions that you have during the show, you want to pop them in the chat. Try to use caps if you can. Then that way I can see him with these reading glasses. I was playing with my dog today, and he was so happy to be out. Sometimes I'll let him off the leash, and Abel just like he'll run, and then he runs at me like a buffalo. I had my other reading glasses in my pocket. He snapped them right in half, but that's all right, man. It's love. Kelsey said she used to do hippotherapy growing up. That's actually how she's able to walk. Right on. See?
It is hippotherapy with horses.
It is hippotherapy with horses. Paul, so glad to be here. There's so many things I want to talk to you about specifically, which is why we wanted to sort of do this as just solo with you and I. Again, we've talked about this on the show. The show that Paul reached out to me and said, "Hey man, we should do a podcast together." And I was very adamant. I said, "Paul, what'd I say to you?"
All right, but it's going to be like a 5-episode miniseries. And if it doesn't get a lot of traction, that's it.
That's it, man. It was like 5 or 6 episodes. I said, we'll do it as a limited series and then see what happens. Yeah. And then this thing is just this thing's really taken off in a way which has been really edifying for me, which has been like just the fact that, number one, that we get to hang out with each other on a regular basis to see each other. Like, we're seeing each other now virtually more than we were in person back down at Disney, because our schedules are just like 2 completely different things.
Sure.
So this has been amazing, getting to see the stuff that, well, the challenges that your family went through this year with some of the COVID stuff and, the riots and all the other stuff that happened. And then, but then seeing the wins that have happened with Everly and the big stuff that's happened for you guys over the year, man, it's been awesome. So
It has been a roller coaster year, I think, for everybody. And what an interesting way to have kind of like a yearbook or like kind of a documentary of the year,
wow.
is having these podcasts and live streams to look back on and say, I remember what we were doing, what we were feeling when.
Yeah.
Even in 10 years or so, we can look back and be like, wow, remember 2020
I
and
know.
everything
Well,
that came with it.
Well, especially as everybody was going into 2020 to begin, because it was just like, yes, this is it. It's a new decade. We're going to get ready to do this. And the blind side of stuff that happened, I mean, it just lets you know how precious and tenuous everything is, right? But so many things I think that have happened over the last year that have made me stronger, but we'll talk about that. And actually, I'm going to put out a challenge to our listeners during this tonight. If you want to share as we're talking, because I'm going to ask Paul a couple of questions, but if you can talk about creative challenges and creative wins that you've had over this last year, Diana, so glad to have you here with us.
Yeah.
I love it. Emily just said that she got off the Incredicoaster. She's heading to Ghirardelli for dessert. That's what you do as you listen. um,
Like fun.
but if you want to share, as we're going through this, Paul and I are going to talk about our wins and challenges creatively, personally over the last year. Um, but if you want to share some of those, we'd be happy to read them as we're doing this. So, Paul, guess what, man? I'm gonna I say it a million times on this show, and I'm sorry for saying it a million times more. Um, God bless you, buddy. The stuff that you discovered again with Vaudacity Network and the community and the network of friends, and this was a life raft for people. What you did with Vaudacity. When I also think about the stuff that our friend Danny Roque has gone through over the last year, I mean, that like literally 2 or 3 days before he had his incident, the stuff happened with him. He was like on the chat here for one of the Your Creative Journey things, like going back and forth with
With
Maddie.
Maddie.
And
Yeah.
then next thing you know, like he's in the hospital and we're getting all these, so, and the fact that he has had a place to be able to show up regularly as you guys were doing the regular improv things. I mean, talk to it, man. What has this last year been like for you? And talk about maybe those wins creatively that you discovered.
Well, I mean, it's been a game changer. It's been a world changer. I'll just start by saying, you say I see you more often now than I did before. And over this year with everything that happened, I had friends, I made friends and developed strong bonds with people I never met. And
Mm,
I just recently met, like last month, um, over just the weeks and the just the collective goal of, or the collective coming together to create. And whether it was for the variety show on the weekends, or if we were putting on like one of our performances like Rent or Wicked virtually, I just got to work creatively with people whom I met through the onlines and worked with virtually, and never even, like, people I spent more time with this past year than of like my parents.
right.
Like exponentially more
Yeah.
time with, just because we were just online. And we found a way to be together. And I was thinking about it today and just thinking about um, what a creative journey is, and what it does for our hearts, and what it
Yeah.
does for to keep us going day to day.
Mm,
But it's also just at its core, creativity, I think, in the art of expression is community, and
mm,
it's about people being together,
yeah.
experiencing a piece of work. And that's really what this virtual network has been,
Wow.
this past year and a half. It's just been a coming together of creative people and creation of a family, really, in a virtual space. It's just been something I never dreamed would happen. I never, prepared for, but it here it is.
Isn't it crazy, man? I mean, just even as you're talking about that, I mean, think about, I don't know if some of the younger viewers experienced this growing up, but I know that I experienced this growing up, whether it was at school or church, that, you know, creative stuff was really sort of blended into everything that you did. It was like, oh, hey, we got the pageant that's coming up for Christmas, or oh, we're going to do this play or this, uh, and whether or not people were going on to an actual professional creative career, but it was like built in. Like creativity was built into the normal curriculum in school and training. So it was just a thing that people did. And even as you were describing that, Paul, it's like you virtually found a way with Vaudacity Network to replicate that, particularly in a time when people couldn't get together physically. You were already doing it with the Polly's picnics for a while, for a few years, several years.
Mhm.
But being able to translate that, and the excitement and the way that everybody was able to come together, and it was a thing that people look forward to and show up on this. I mean, I've been seeing stuff here that's in the comments that's just so awesome. I mean, Emily with the ukulele, right? I think taking up the ukulele has been both a creative win and a challenge, right?
Mhm.
Um, of the stuff that we saw happen here on the show with Dari doing her work, or even doing the Zumba classes that she's been doing, or seeing Krista step out, and do a little bit of the writing. It was just like, it's so heartening, right? And
Yeah.
it's like a thing of like, it's almost, honestly, Paul, what you've done, which is amazing, is you you drop the barrier, right? Like, I think the barrier is just like everybody's just going, well, I can't, there's no way. And just going, hey, actually you can. And that's actually how we've all gotten into this. We've just done it, you just do it. And to sort of just drop that facade, or that thing that everybody's so afraid of. And it's been a beautiful thing to watch. By the way, happy belated 40th birthday to you.
Thanks,
And
buddy.
you bet, man. I mean, talk about milestones, right? How do you feel? I mean, you got to hang out with some of the Vaudacity family this weekend while you were doing that too, right?
No, we had the best. It was just the best time. Obviously, gatherings are still kind of like, it's like, should we? Shouldn't we?
I know. I know.
But
I know.
everybody, everybody was very responsible and only came if they felt healthy and good. But yeah, we just spent like 2 nights in a cabin in a like a mansion of a cabin in Big Bear. Just enjoyed each other's company and did some live streams, sang some songs and did some music, and it was just the best. And yeah, it's just so weird being together with people. I was gonna say, I took 5 days off because I just want to have a nice little birthday break, and so I went
Right.
back to work today, and I kind of like felt really down. I just not be, like I don't get me wrong, I very much love my job and I love what I do,
Sure.
but it was just I was coming down off that high of just being with people that I love again, and just having fun partying, and then getting back to, we're watching the news even today. Jamie and I are going to Hawaii in 3.5 weeks, and they had a big press conference about how they're reinstating some of the COVID stuff. And I don't know if you remember, Hawaii was like, you couldn't leave the hotel during COVID.
Totally.
And so Jamie's like freaking out. She's like, is that what it's gonna be? We just spent $7,000 on this trip and we're not gonna be able to leave the hotel. And it's just like, well, I'm just in this world again where it's like, oh, I miss my friends and everything's shutting down for COVID. And then just like
Yeah.
I felt really sad inside. But I don't know, sitting down here and seeing your face, I'm happy again, and seeing everybody in the chat. And so
Yeah.
it's
That's what it is, right? I mean, like, honestly, that community and that fellowship is such a huge, important thing. That's something that I've learned, you know, isolation's an enemy, right? Like, isolation isn't it? And obviously if we have that in our relationship with our spouses and our family, like that's so vitally important, right? That's the
Oh
core of
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But then we also get fed by doing that. We had a similar thing this last weekend. My aunt turned 90 years old, and it was the first time that we had, like, she's the oldest member now of the Gregg clan, and it's just like, it's amazing, and she's in great health, and people showed up and had been vaccinated and stuff. But it was it was awesome to have that moment of just like going, oh gosh, this is family. Like, we're all together and we're getting to hang out, we're getting to be with each other.
Yeah.
And boy, it's absolutely so vital. So I get it. Listen, man, you're experiencing you're experiencing the come down that happens after we have, right? I mean,
Well, it was
oh,
great, and just to see, like, so my brother's birthday is 2 days before
that's right.
mine.
That's right.
So before we left and went up the mountain with the friends, we had just like a party at Pizza Man Dan's Pizzeria, like we usually do. Like usually, if one of us has a birthday, we go to Toppers or Round Table, and we have a family pizza night and bring balloons and gifts. And we did it again for the first time in 2 years
Oh,
on Thursday for my brother's birthday, and I looked over at one point at my mom at the end of the table just bawling. And I was just
yeah.
like, "Are you okay?" And she's like, "I've missed this." And
Yeah.
it's just like, oh, yeah. I mean, we've all been through some stuff
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
year and a half. So,
Huge, buddy.
um,
Huge. Well, I just want to say that out loud. It's just like, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for taking up the torch and just like going, going, and just like following your gut, following your heart, as you would always say. Because I know, right? Like, guys, you probably know some of this, but I mean, I saw Paul in the beginning of this while he was trying to figure all this stuff out, right? I mean, I remember when we gathered together for the first couple of Vaudacity big variety shows, and Paul's trying to work it out with Sam and Craig, and trying to make sure that everybody, the mix is going on. Paul is just soaked in sweat on either side because he's trying to make it happen, right? Like, did you ever feel like you're gonna have a heart attack during that
oh
step?
yeah, oh yeah. Those first couple months, it was just like every week I was more nervous than ever. But you brought up something that I was gonna bring up. Like, just I didn't do it alone. Obviously, like the team that we put it together. The Sams and the Craigs and the Stephs and the Dans and everybody who was just involved in it. And I know, like, just having this community, having a creative team is so helpful in just so many aspects of life. Like, I don't know, we haven't really talked about it, and I don't know if the listeners even know, but one of my our technicians, we call him our stream director, Sam Miklich. He was a sound recordist before COVID on like production sets, and he was working a commercial at a big hotel in Vegas, and they were in the stadium, like where the boxing rink is, and they were going up some stairs, and something broke under him, and he was injured in one of his legs, and like it's bad, it's real bad. Like it might not ever be what it was, probably won't ever be what it was, and just like so he's been, and this happened in like March, like right as the pandemic was starting, and so he has been just like more locked down than anyone
Mm.
because he can't move, and like it's a full-time job going to the doctor and trying to heal up. And he has said to me, and his wife has said to me, if he didn't have Audacity, like he would be in a super dark place right now, but this has given him something to focus on, and something to create and to mold and to help it grow, and it's a family, and it's
Yeah.
just a microcosm of what working together creatively on a project, maybe not even creatively, but just being together with people striving toward one goal,
Oh my gosh.
can help drive your life.
It's huge. I mean, it's huge. Sam has been he's been such an integral part to all of that stuff that's happened. And, I mean, well, I'm glad you had your accident. I mean, it's like, right. I,
No.
no, no, but I mean,
No.
but that out of that there was this opportunity, right? Like we never know when we're going to get these massive curveballs that come our way. And all of a sudden it's like, nope, that's not going to happen. What I thought, the direction that I thought the stuff was going to go, it's gone like that.
Yeah.
And then to be able to go, and the heart for him to be able in that moment to just go, okay, let me figure out something else while I'm recovering, while I'm healing, while I'm trying to figure this out, man. Like that's amazing.
Yeah.
God bless him, man. God bless him. I got to point this out. Kelsey said this, big win for both of us. Yes. Gosh, I just lost you. Here she is. Yes, Emily, the ukulele. It's a big win for both of us. One of the big wins, this is Kelsey talking, was after 3 years of looking for work, I was able to find a job. Congratulations, Kelsey. That's amazing. And Diana here says, Vaudacity has been the best thing in my life. There's no way I would have gotten through the pandemic without Vaudacity. So, and I'm going to tell you something, man. Like that's a thing for me. I'll just talk about, what's awesome, man. Talking about milestones. Here's a big thing for me, Paul. It's like, yes, we've hit 50 episodes here of your creative journey. Also in the midst of this, I started the Kevin Gregg show, which deals, with more Christianity, a little bit more of business stuff and things like that. So Paul, this also marks, and I know I'm going to say this and you're just going to go, rookie. But tonight marks my 100th episode of doing material. And just over, I will tell you, and this was just before Paul reached out to me. Talk about writing stuff down, gang. Talk about writing stuff down and getting it out of your head and putting it down on a piece of paper. I wish I had the journal paper with me right now. I don't have it at the. Oh, you know what, gang? I may actually have this. I wrote this down. I'm gonna stand by as Kevin does the faux boomer thing. See, I'm officially Generation X. So you can't, so sorry, man, 1972, that puts me in Generation X. So that doesn't put me in boomer, but I'm going to do a faux boomer moment for a moment. I'm going to take a look real quick. And if I can find it, I'm actually going to pull up what I wrote about a year ago. Now it's a little bit, I think I got this, man. Oh gosh, if I see this is going to be amazing.
Well, while you look for that, I
Yeah.
will just mention that I'm super proud of you. On this show, you don't touch much upon like, all the day-to-day challenges and oh man, you went through it this past year with the work stuff and all of the family stuff and you still have been this prolific creator and shifting gears. Now you're writing and
Yeah. Yeah.
more and gosh, man, you've been as much of a tornado as I have, that's for
I
sure.
appreciate it, brother. This was one of the things I've talked about it before on the show. I walked off Disney property March 18th, and it was like, okay, we'll be closed for 2 weeks. And again, the whole idea of, okay, well, I'm working on a couple of other things, so it should all be fine. I should be good. Um, and then I got a phone call that was just like, that's it. Because as a freelancer, you're paid by what you do, right?
Right.
It's not like you have any padding or stuff like that. And when I took this, when I made this, I get to share this with the people that are right here. Realize that when I walked away from doing a regular acting gig down at Disneyland, and I was a part of the union, the performers union that was down there, and I had health benefits and all this other stuff. And this is a big shout out to my wife, Kate. But in order to make that jump, to sort of push myself forward, I had to say goodbye to all of it. I had to have an official separation from the company. So this was a company that I had worked for 20 years, that I had health insurance, dental insurance, all this other stuff, paid vacation stuff. And I think I've shared this part of it before, but I walked away from that. I had to fully separate myself from the company. I'd separated myself from the company with an idea of like going, Well, there might be some things. They were playing a weird game, man. I won't go too down this rabbit hole. But they were playing this weird game of like, well, we'll see what happens, because it felt like they were, but nobody would commit to it, right? So maybe they were afraid of getting sued. I don't know. But 30 days after I had fully severed, that's it. I've got my last paychecks, all that stuff. Now I've got to try and figure out how to pay for insurance out of pocket. I make a phone call. This is back in, what was it, 2018. So it's 3 years ago now that I walked away from all this stuff.
Wow.
So I walk away. And I remember 30 days afterwards, I called up the senior executive that had sort of promised me these things. Promised. And then I got on the phone with the person and they said, "Oh yeah, we don't have anything for you right now." And I just thought, what? Now I got a call 2 days later from somebody else saying, no, we've got something, we can work this out. Right. But anyway, so that's been my life as a freelancer for the last couple of years, which is like you just go from job to job to job. And to your point, Paul, was there I was, walked off, and I thought I had, maybe a couple other things I could write and do, and to find out just like, nope, can't do that. And then also I've been involved with an educational fundraising company for a while, and all of that disappears. So fortunately I qualified for some unemployment that was able to keep me through. But this has been a transformative year. Where can I tell you this? Let me tell you this. I'm going to tell it to you.
That's why we're here, right?
Here's the interesting thing, Paul. And you got to be a part of this. Because I was doing this podcast and doing a show on a regular basis, and because I was doing the producing work and all of the other advertising and the marketing and all the stuff for this show, this served as physical proof of concept of what I was doing. So when I was submitting for other jobs, other freelancing jobs and writing jobs and producing jobs, that I was able to point them immediately to this work, to say, and oh, by the way, I'm a co-host of a show that I also produce and do on a regular basis. So they had proof of concept to go, oh yeah, this guy's actually doing this stuff, right? It's not just me talking about stuff. So that's kind of the joke that, Kate and I have now, which is like, sometimes, and Paul knows how it works, like behind the scenes. Listen, guys, we're not making buckets of money. Okay. We're just not, right? You just don't. So the fact is like, there's at times where Kate says, well, so how much have you made from this? And I said, you know what? Because of this podcast, this has led to those other freelancing jobs and the other things I was able to do. So that's the huge blessing that's come out of this. And talk about and I'll tell you, Paul, is so weird. Again, something that I've mentioned on the show, but the shifting of limiting belief. Can we say that? The shifting of limiting belief. Because, and Paul, I don't know if you ever experienced it in your days down there and still being involved with it. And again, I'm just going to say this in general. This is not let's just say that this has to deal with certain personality types that work in a huge corporation. When you get a huge corporation, you get a whole bunch of people. I just seem to be landing in a group of people, though I will, I'm going to shout out people like Chris Utley, who was a huge champion for me. But Chris Utley was such a huge champion for me, but there were so many times where I kept being told what I wasn't, what I couldn't do down there. Well, you're just a this, you're just a performer. No. We like you just where you are. And the fact is, that's not true. Like that wasn't true the entire time that I was there. Paul knows this. I had been writing and directing and doing all this other stuff. But there were certain mindsets that were down there that just kept saying, well, that's all you really are. And to be on the other side of that, and to also have, boy, talk about a jumping off the cliff that came from the pandemic, right? Which is like, here we go. Can I do something creative? And for me, the biggest eye-opening thing, and I say this for anybody that if you're in a creative job, it doesn't have to be with the Walt Disney Company or whatever, but if you are in a creative job that maybe it's not what you thought it was going to be, right? I think that one of the things that was a paralyzing thing for me for such a long time was like, if I leave here, I'll never be able to get paid to do something creative again, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It was a paralyzing thing for me. And so I think that that's why I sort of held on as long as I did. And yet here I am, thanks be to God, all the glory to him, not me, but that I have been able to use my skills, abilities, talents. I mean, this is the stuff that you discover with the police department that you use, where you just go, oh gosh, I am using it. And oh yeah, I'm using it so that I can support my family. And I feel good about what I do, you know?
Yeah, and it's been a big proof, kind of a proof of concept of taking risks. I remember, working at Disney and being like, having an audition come up or something came up that I wanted to go to that could have led to other things, but I have a shift. And if I give the shift away, I can't afford,
Yeah.
to pay the bills. And then like all of a sudden we lost work in 2020 and we made it through. And, um, yeah, I mean, it's just kind of like a symbol of what can happen when you just take your safety net out and jump.
Yeah.
Um,
It's hard. We want to, it's the most difficult thing in the world, right? It's the most difficult thing in the world because we never know. Like I think it's this fear that we're going to crash and burn. I love there's a guy, Tim Ferriss, who does the 4 Hour Work Week. He has people go through an exercise, which is uh, think about what the worst possible scenario is. Like, what is the absolute worst thing that could happen? Right.
mhm.
He did this once. And for me, right, like for me, it's like, okay, the worst that happens is I've lost everything. I don't have money coming in. I can't pay the rent. I can't pay the utility. And you know what it basically boils down to? It's like, okay, worst possible scenario. I get my camping gear. I go over to my sister's house and her husband-in-law, and we camp in the back while I figure out how to deliver pizzas or whatever. It's like, okay, I think that's probably about the worst, and we'll still be okay, and we'll still figure out a way to to pick ourselves back up from there. And when you kind of put it in those terms, believe me, it's not what you're aiming for, but
Right.
it's like you're gonna survive. Like you're
Yeah.
gonna survive.
As long as you have your family and your everybody's in good health, like, I
Yes.
mean, that's always the absolute worst thing that could happen. But what you're talking about is like taking risks of business or creatively. And yeah, I think about it all the time. Like if the pandemic never happened, I wouldn't be playing guitar. I wouldn't be having I wouldn't have this community.
I know.
And of course, obviously, like we touched on earlier, no one wants the bad things to happen, but there's also, good that always good that comes out of challenges.
It does, man. It truly, truly does. I'm just looking at the comments for a second. Thanks, Diana. It's okay. It worked out well in the end. she's got a crying emoji, probably talking about the stuff when I lost the work.
Yeah.
Emily, I have this podcast to thank for inspiring me to learn the ukulele. Diana says this: the podcast has been so much fun. When you had Charles Eston on, made new friends, watched Nashville TV show with all of them. Oh, that's great. That's awesome. Thank you for the new friendship I made. It's our pleasure. Our pleasure. Let me show you this. This is it, man. This is back in. Uh, Here it is to show you, ladies and gentlemen. This is about, you know, right there. This was a vision from God that I had. This is how I wrote it. 100 episodes of live streaming, either Facebook, Periscope, YouTube, or Restream Talks. I wrote that back in, the comment will pop up in a second. Look at that. April 16th, 2020. April
Wow.
16th, 2020. So it was this idea. And literally, Paul, that was just before you reached out to me about the Your Creative Journey stuff. And it was just this feeling of like going, I need, and honestly, man, talk about, I'll tell you, talk about serendipity, right? Serendipitous stuff from God. It was like
Crazy.
I had written that down probably a few weeks before you reached out to me, and I just went, yes, let's do it. I will say this, man, the biggest thing that I've learned from this show, the thing that I'm so grateful for with this show is it has taught me consistency. It has taught me consistency to show up. Um, I've done it before in the past where I've had a couple of shows where it's like, um, I'm going to get to tell a little story. I'm
Oh
going to tell a
yeah.
little story. Here it is. This is the one. This is the one that brings us all down. So, uh, Mark McConville and Matt Gorley and Jeremy Carter, they had been doing Superego. So this is back in about 2009. I had started a version of the Kevin Gregg show around that time. As a matter of fact, years ago, I got Matt Gorley and Jeremy Carter to come on, and we did a little episode interviewing Superego back in 2009. So for those of you that don't know, gosuperego.com or Superego has been, it's been kind of a hit comedy podcast. You know, they've done it over, since 2009. They've had like major comedians and stars on, and it's a funny show. Uh, Rough language and situations, just to let you be aware, but very talented guys. It's improv, right? It's audio improv. It's amazing. So we all started out around the same time doing that stuff. Matt had launched that, and Jeremy was working on it. And Mark McConville was helping him. And then I had sort of launched the Kevin Gregg show around the same time. And of course, those guys were in like this, listen, man, they were in a lane that was like, it's a lane, it's a broad lane. It's something that people like, right? Comedy episodes. My stuff was very niche, which was about, again, very similar to what we do here now, which is like talking to actors, writers, directors about the process. And I got, those guys were getting 20,000 downloads a month. Like, it was huge in 2009. It was just like, whoa. And those were not my numbers, right? The numbers were just like, I was getting 30 downloads a month, right? Or something like that. And I remember I got to a point, I interviewed, I won't get too into it because I don't want to embarrass a guy, but I interviewed an actor who'd been around for a while. He'd been in, let's put it this way, he'd been in B movies back in the 60s. And I'd run into this guy at an audition. I thought, oh, he'll be an interesting guy to come on. And I have this guy, and I was having the interview with him. And as I was having the interview with him, the interesting thing, and you see this on the show, I love to hear how it works, right? Like, what are the things, what's the process that people went through, all this stuff. This fella, as I was having the conversation with him, basically I found out he got his break because he was a good looking guy, and he ended up stumbling into modeling, and he kind of took off with a career, and he kind of, for lack of a better word, he kind of blew it. Like, he blew a wonderful opportunity that he'd been handed. And I remember I was halfway through that interview with the guy, and I just thought, why am I doing this? I thought, what is the point? Like, there's nothing endearing in this interview here. Like, there's nothing. I'm interviewing this guy. I'm putting this guy up on a pedestal, and this isn't helping anybody. Like, it was that moment where I just thought, what's the point? Right. So I jumped off. And then I tried another one, which I did with Jeremy Van Cleve, which was the discussion. I wasn't sure what that format was. And we tried an experiment. And so this was my third go around with the show. And I think, Paul, that the thing that has really clicked for me, and we have talked about it before, is, the numbers and the views and all that stuff. Sure. Is that super helpful? Absolutely. And do we want more people to be able to hear this? Absolutely, we do. But the driving force was if we can help one person with this thing, if we can show up and have a conversation or have a moment where somebody walks away feeling empowered and feeling like they can take the action to get their stuff done, okay, then we've done the job. And that, for me, And again, I mean, Paul, you know how it goes with this stuff, especially as you've been working on all this stuff with Vaudacity, right? It's like, for me with this show, with your creative journey, that's probably been the most driving thing, is to go, I'm showing up because I have a conversation, and I never know what's going to happen in that conversation that's going to affect somebody that happens to listen to it. And for me, that's been just as driving as, eh, you know, showing up for my recovery meetings or whatever, where it's like, I'm showing up for this because I'm hoping to help somebody. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Your thoughts, your challenges. I mean, believe me, buddy, I know that you've had a ton of this with the Vaudacity stuff. I know that there's been times when you've probably gone,
Yeah.
can
Well, I mean,
I?
it's, and I've said this a bunch of times over on the other network. Like, my biggest thing is sharing the talents of my amazingly talented friends and wanting to see those huge numbers so that, like, I know we're reaching more people, because yeah, like, if we have enough subscribers that we can run ads and we get like $2 a month for the commercials that run on our so nobody's, the amazing
It's nuts, guys. Like YouTube
support that we get.
algorithms and how they do it. I
Yeah.
mean, it takes a lot. It takes a lot. So
The love and support from people who are out there, people like Emily Thatcher and like so
yeah,
many other people, Kelsey and everybody, is just like that show up, and they'll tip the performers like $1 or
yeah.
$50 a show. And that, even like once you split it up amongst all of the performers that are in the show, it
That's
ends up being like,
here's your
here's,
quarter,
yeah,
kid.
$13 for your 4-hour performance. There you go. Like, while it's not, if you're working at Disney as an AGVA, you're making $25 an hour.
Right.
But, or at least what I hired in, I don't know what it is anymore. But it's not even the dollar amount. It's just receiving something back from your time and your talents. And that has been so helpful. And just like, as far as just like feeling like you're doing something with the craft that you've been working on your entire life. But to have all of these just incredibly talented people on a show together, and like wishing you had 1 million people watching, while there's 50 or 60, that 50, like, it's, while that's a kind of a bummer, that's still 50 or 60 people you're performing for and like pouring your heart out for, and it doesn't feel any different. Like, whether it was, I mean, I've never performed for 1 million people, but I've done shows. Like, the biggest show I did at Disneyland was just the New Year's Eve countdown thing. And I did like a 15-minute thing with the Bootstrappers. It was like on a stage in front of the castle, and there was people from the
Yeah.
stage to the train station, and
Yeah.
I led everybody in singing "Yo ho, yo ho, Pirate's Life for Me," and just hearing all of those voices echo down Main Street was just an incredible feeling. And I have the same feeling when there's 12 people watching online and I'm performing a song I've never played before, and I see little clap emojis come up in the chat. Like,
Yeah.
as a performer, like, it's the same. It's just like, if that wasn't there, it would, like, I don't know what life would be like. But yeah, the challenge, like, the crazy thing we did, like a year ago now, a Sarah Bareilles show. And at one point I looked over and there was we were in 700 households. And I was just like, what's happening right
Yeah.
now? Like, is it
Yeah.
happening? Are we taking off?
Yeah.
And then, the next show is like a Disney night. So I'm thinking like it'll be at least 700 or more. And then it's back down to the regular numbers, which weren't anything to sneeze at. Like,
Yeah.
when the pandemic first started, we had like 120, 130 people watching a week.
Yeah.
Um, and now, people are getting back to life, and I'll look over, and I'm happy if there's 40 people watching
Yeah.
on our big show of the week. But like, it is a crazy thing where it's like nobody has the formula, and what's going to click and what's not, and what's going to catch that wave and take you into 1 million households. Who even knows? But
No.
while that would be amazing and could change your life if that led to other things, it doesn't take away anything from how special it is
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah. Totally, buddy. It's totally, that is it. What you just said. It's like, let's just show up. Let's just do the best that we can for the people that we have here. Heck, buddy, that's what we did at Disney all of those years, you
Yeah,
know?
that's true.
I mean, we go out in that we go out on that street, you're performing for 150 people, or you're out in the horseshoe and you're performing for 350 people, right? Well, it's not 1,000, 2,000 at a time, but my gosh, you play it for those people. You play it for those annual pass holders that were down there that are so wonderful and loving and caring and show up and just laugh and are engaged in every show. And you just go, yes, I will totally do this for you. You know,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you for being this. So I guess that's what we're saying to our audience here. Don't worry, Diana. This is not the last show. She put a thing in the comments like, is
Oh,
this the
does it
last
sound like
show?
we're wrapping it up? So we helped one person.
we
Uh,
we officially helped only one person.
we're
So
good.
that
We said
actually we
this
only
would all be
helped
worth it.
we only helped 1/4 of a person. So we didn't even make our we didn't even make our goal with that. Um Paul, there's something I definitely want to read. There's a thing that popped up today on my Facebook, and I said, "My gosh, man, I've got to read this." Now, this is a fella. His name I don't know him personally. His name is David Sabo, and I believe he may be a friend of Corey Pollard, who's been on the show a couple of times. Now, I don't know if he's actually a friend or just an acquaintance or whatever it is. Yes, Diana. Yes, you can keep watching. We'll tell you what the next show is coming up in a couple of weeks. uh, but
And we love you too, Emily and Kelsey.
absolutely. Thank you guys. So grateful for you. So I want to read this, man. So this guy's name is David Sabo, and he's got like a really interesting, he's an interesting cat, right? Like I don't know his entire story, but I wanted to share it with the people on the show tonight because David came from he had a rough last couple of years. Now I'm not sure if he has a full military background or not. Forgive me, David, if I don't know your entire story. I'm sorry. But he was a friend of Corey Pollard's and connected with me, and he does this thing. Do you know what burpees are? You know what burpees are?
I think so. They're
Okay.
like the ab exercises.
Yeah, so burpees are basically, they're like these exercises, and there's a ton of different variations on them, but they can be different things where you're either like reaching up or you're reaching down, and then you're doing like a push up, and then you're bringing yourself back up. You can do a million different versions of this, but uh, David did this thing where a couple of years ago he was in a bad place in his life. He wasn't doing well. There was issues with custody with his kids. David, forgive me if I'm getting your story wrong. My apologies. But he was just in a low part. And he started to like do these burpees and kind of like show up. And he created this thing that's called the Burpee Gang. Right. And so he tags me on this. And, he's doing like 100 of these burpee challenges or stuff. He's doing this like every day, and he's doing it. And then every once in a while, you see like he posts really motivational things. And he's had a young man that's been with him for a while that apparently this is his cousin. So I want to read this story that popped up because when this came up today, I said, my gosh, this so correlates to not only the creative journey, but also just to our life journey. And I'm going to read it here for you guys here. So I'll share it with you right now. Okay. Now, this is a picture of David's cousin that's right here. So you can see that. Yeah. Okay. So here's what David says. It doesn't make sense. The level up. The level up doesn't make sense in this frame of mind. It doesn't fit your timeline. It doesn't fit your budget. It doesn't fit your credentials. It doesn't even fit the description. It looks like a struggle. Do it anyway. It's a gift wrapped in struggle. We can only control ourselves. Do everything you can do and let the universe be the judge. Here's a story. I'm trying to get guardianship on my young cousin, and it's a process. It's a process I find myself being massively ungrateful for. The court costs, the paperwork, the confusion of filing everything, the background checks, trips downtown over and over again. Every step of the process is frustrating and costly. I'm trying to do something positive to the best of my ability, to the best of my knowledge. If I quit now, what's the point? I'm back to square one and I accomplish nothing. All my good intentions aren't worth a dime if I don't follow through to the end. I have to remember to be grateful that I'm even in this position, that I'm in the position to help someone. I have to remember the purpose of all this. It's it isn't meant to be easy. Every aspect of this is meant to test me. The cost is meant to test me. Can I afford to take on another child? The bureaucracy meant to test me. Do I have the patience to take on another child? The paperwork is meant to test me. Do I have the intelligence? As difficult as the system is to navigate for someone like me, I must understand that it is placed to test my worth. It is a place to test my worth. Am I a worthy guardian for this young man? All the struggle is hiding the gift. All the trial is where gold is proven in the fire. Are we worthy? Don't quit before the miracle happens. Crazy. I just saw that today and I just thought, that's it.
Yeah, that's
That is
beautiful.
that is what we're all doing in life. And that's not to be like, that's not to be gloom and doom. Okay. But I will tell you that, and the experience that I've had is that when you are heading towards what you're supposed to be doing and you start getting hit by adversity and struggle, it means you're on the right path, you know. And for me, it means, like, I think I truly do believe that there are forces that are out there that don't want that to happen. They don't want it to happen, because if it does happen, it means that the greater good happens, that God's calling, God's gift, all of that stuff happens, and that influences other people and that it guides them, right? And so when that struggle comes up, it's like, no, you don't. And sometimes that struggle is also the character building and the testing that happens in order for us to strengthen and to break through to get to the other side, because we need to be able to do that on the other side, right? There has to be like a growth that happens. So anyway,
And
David, yeah,
it's
go ahead.
kind of like all those stories about I was gonna give up and I went to one more audition and that's what did it. And or just like I worked an extra hour and somebody saw me there, like the last one to leave the gym, and then that's what got it for me. And yeah, it's putting so much work into it. And I've said before on here on the show, like don't be afraid to stop something. Don't be afraid to walk away with from something just because you think you'll look like a quitter or you'll feel like a quitter. Like, you need to follow your heart, and if your heart is telling you to keep going and to not give up, that's, I mean, that what else are you gonna do other than just always wish you never quit and never gave up. You got to hang on, and as hard as it is and as much as it tests your patience, you just keep doing it, and then the gift is wrapped in there.
Oh, it's so true. It was literally just as you were talking about that. I remember Mark Clayman that we had on a while back, my friend Mark Clayman, who he's just like going, I've asked him, like, so what do you do? And he's just like going, I got no other choice. Like, this is what I do. Like, I produce.
Yeah.
I produce. That's what I do. You know,
Yeah.
like there is no plan B. Like, that's what I do. So anyway, I just want to share that. Thank you, Holly. I appreciate that. She said so profound. Thanks, Emily, for joining us. She's gonna go hit some other
She's gonna
oh
go enjoy Disneyland like she should have been
well,
doing the past
it's
54
ridiculous, right? Why is she doing this? Um anyway, Paul, happy 50th, buddy. Happy 50th episode.
Same to you. It was quite a ride. I can't believe it's over.
Get out of here. Can't believe the first part of it's over. I say we're heading for another 50. I'm only gonna do another 50
Okay. Yeah.
for
We'll see
now.
how that goes.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see about that. Just grateful for you, brother. I'm just so glad to be able to do this with you. And Yeah, man. Thanks for giving me the call. Thanks
You
for giving
too.
me the call so I could show up and get this thing rolling. So it's huge.
You for saying yes.
Come on now. Come on now. Anything special that you need to want to be announcing for Vaudacity Network or anything you want to pitch?
Well, we've got our regular shows going on Vaudacity, so the ones that are still around are still doing the thing. But I would like to say, since this is a podcast, I did something new at work,
Yeah,
and I
yeah, yeah, yeah,
released
yeah.
a podcast from work. It's a story about, you know what suicide by cop is.
Yes, I do. So that's a situation where usually it's somebody that's like either has a gun or an unloaded gun, or they're in a situation where their intent is that they want the cops to shoot and kill them. That's
Correct.
kind of what the deal is. Yeah.
Yeah, a couple of years back, there was a 17-year-old girl who attempted suicide by cop from one of our officers who ended up shooting her 3 times. And immediately after she was on the ground and they got the knife away from her, they started to everything they could to save her life. And after that, she woke up in the hospital, and the one thing she wanted to do in her life was to thank the officer, to walk, obviously to survive, and to thank the officer for saving her life, and then to use that experience for good, and to show that like him saving her life actually turned her life around. And so, yeah, it was 2 years ago. They sat down with me and I interviewed them together, the officer and the girl. And it was a pretty profound conversation. It's like 45 minutes long. Just search for the Oxnard Police Department podcast. I'm pretty proud of it.
Love
Check it
it.
out if you can.
Oxnard Police Podcast, everybody. Go check that out. I'll put that in the show notes as well so that you can click over to it. Okay. Ben,
Also,
yes.
one other shameless plug. My daughter is in a brand new show on Netflix that starts August 20th. It stars Sandra Oh and Jay Duplass. Showrunner Amanda Pete was very sweet to Everly throughout the whole process. And it's real short. It's like a 6 episode. Each episode's 30 minutes. You can sit down and binge the whole season in one evening if you'd like. It's called The Chair. So check
Very
it out on
good.
Netflix.
Congratulations, man. Huge.
Thanks, exciting.
More things coming Everly's way. So we'll share it as it comes up. So very, very happy for you guys. Uh awesome, man. Shameless plugs as well. You guys are watching this live tomorrow. You'll be interested in this, Paul. Tomorrow, doing a live stream of the Kevin Gregg show. We're going to be doing it at noon Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to introduce you to Doug Riggle, who is a guy that I have been working on a project with over the last year. We've been working on a book together. We're sort of in the editing manuscript phase of it. He is a fascinating cat, man. He is a guy that, talk about a blessing that has come out of this, out of COVID. Um, Got hired to work with him on this project. I'm interviewing him on the show tomorrow. If you can join us at 12 p.m. Pacific time for the live stream, that would be awesome. So we can have a little bit of back and forth if you happen to be on your lunch or have a moment or whatever. But some great stuff that we'll talk about. He has gone through a heck of a journey, and I'm happy to introduce you to him. There's going to be more stuff coming up with he and I on the Kevin Gregg show. So
Nice.
check that out. Speaking of your creative journey, you can always see and listen to past episodes of Your Creative Journey. You can go to yourcreativejourneypodcast.com, listen to past episodes, or find episodes wherever you listen to podcasts, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, whatever. Can you do us a favor? Just give us if you feel so led, give us a 5-star review or whatever that is. It just helps to punch up the algorithm so that mainly more people find the show. That's the big thing, because we would love to have more people come and just be a part of this family that you guys have been a part of. So yeah.
If there's one gift you can give us on our final episode, that is a 5-star review.
If only, if only you could give us a 5-star. If somebody's just come in, for those of you that just came in, this is not our last episode. Actually, we're going to be back in 2 weeks. Jason Palmer is joining us, who we've worked with down at Disney. Jason Fantastic actor. Does a heck of a lot of voiceover work. We'll be talking to him about his journey as well. Oh, thanks, Holly. Holly said this too. Hey, can you do me a favor? Can you also like this video and hit subscribe and the notification bell? The Your Creative Journey podcast is on a different channel right now, and it definitely helps to get the word out. So regardless, even if you're watching the YouTube version of this, can you do us a favor and just at the very least share this video with someone so they can see it as well? Truly appreciate it. Thanks, Holly, for
I
the heads
just
up.
disliked it because a
Okay. Yeah.
dislike is the
Yeah.
same.
Yeah.
You get the same, but then somebody else did too. So now I'm upset. I wasn't the only, so I'm gonna switch it back to like.
No. That's okay. Well, there was a while, Paul, right, where you just like you would do gosh, it just felt like every single show that you would do, there was always the one guy that came in just like, nah,
Oh, there
dislike.
still is. There's on
Yeah.
every Vaudacity show. There's one thumb down.
Yeah. Well, what are you gonna do? You can't control it. Anyway,
I love it. It's great.
Paul, love you a whole bunch. I
Love you.
think we're gonna wrap it up. What do you say?
Yeah. Congratulations on 50. Thank you everybody for being here. Thank you, Kevin, for all of your work. If you don't know at home, Kevin does all of the work, and all I do is sit down and chat with him for a little bit. But thank you for everything, man. You keeping it going, and it's been amazing.
Thanks, buddy. Love you greatly. Thank you to the Your Creative Journey social media team. I always appreciate you giving the shout outs as well. All right, man. I'll see you in a little while as we do as we talk to Jason Palmer. Oh gosh. Just stop, please.
He is a
Okay.
handsome man.
All right. Hey, YouTube folks, thanks so much. We're going to wrap up everything. God bless you all, and we will see you next time.
Love you. Play
Love
that
you
music by the
too.
Swells.
All right. Bye, gang. I'll see you later. And that is the end.